Well, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Amesey's Corner. How are you all doing out there? Got a little bit of a sore throat. This wonderful New England weather's caught up with me, so I apologize if I have a scratchy voice or I'm breathing like Darth Vader. Goes with the coldest winter on record. So anyways, I've got my 5 questions that you guys have asked down in the comments section. If you have an automotive question, an automotive repair question, a question about the business, a question about Amesey's Corner, I'll do my best to answer it next week on my 5 questions segment. So, I've been getting a lot of questions lately about about what tools to buy as a beginner. I already kind of answered this question. I think it was last week's or maybe the weeks before. 5 questions. So to answer that question about what tools I should buy, I'm going to put a link right here. Just click on this link right here, and it'll open up another pane, another window, and you guys can watch that video, and hopefully it will answer most or some of your questions about what tools you should buy if you're just starting out fixing cars or doing repairs. So my next question is in reference to the video I made last week where I did the safety inspection, the used car checkup on that Saab 9.3. Well, that costs about 40 bucks, and that $40 is money very well spent. You may have seen in that video, I found that pump, that vacuum pump leaking, and that's like a $400, $500 job that if they had bought the car, drove it for a while, they'd have to spend that $400 to fix that. They were able to use that, me finding that problem as a bargaining chip to get a better deal on that car. Also, we found some noisy tires, and the dealership put some new tires on it for them and took care of some other problems. So a used car checkup is about $40 from us. You can count on it being anywhere from 1 hour or a half hour to 1 hour labor if you go to another garage. But $40, $50 is usually the average price for a used car checkup at any independent garage. Dealerships, they'll do it too. You can bring a car you want to buy to a dealer and they'll check it out for you, but it's definitely money well spent. Number 3, and this is going to be a question asked at that time lapse the other day where I did the water pump in the Saab 9.5, and they asked, do you support the engine on the Saab 9.5 when removing the top mount? Yes, I do. I use a jack underneath the motor with a block of wood on it to protect the oil pan. That way when you take that motor mount off, the motor doesn't just crash down and smash into the side frame rail or stress any other mounts, the tranny mount or the front and rear torque mounts. So yes, whenever you remove a motor mount, pretty much on any car and any engine, you're going to want to put a jack or a jack stand or some blocks of wood under the oil pan. But be very conscious that the oil pan on most cars isn't necessarily meant to support the whole motor. So put something, block of wood, something on between the metal jack and the oil pan, because you don't want to put a hole in an oil pan. That'll ruin your day really fast when doing like a simple motor mount job. So, number 4, what kind of footwear do I wear? That's a really good question. I was using just the cheapest things I could find at like Walmart, these $20 slip-on shoes, but I then found them from Snap-on. That's actually what this box here is, actually a shoe box. Hold on a second. So, this is the shoe I use. It's made by some company, I don't remember, but it's a Snap-on licensed brand. Really light, really easy to put on. I prefer not to have shoes with laces in them. Maybe they make me look a little dorkier maybe, but I don't really like dealing with laces when you're working on cars and stuff. But I also have a little bit of a condition with my feet that I have to have a slip-on work boot. I can't really do a tied-up work boot. When I was younger, about 3 or 4 years old, I was born with a wrench in my hand, quite literally. Whenever I was home and my father was home, I was working on whatever he was working on with him. It was how my father kind of kept me under wraps and kept me corralled, because as a little kid, I was, every little kid 4 years old is just here, there, everywhere. Well, one day we were doing something in the basement. I don't remember. I think he was putting the cylinder heads on his 440. He had that 72 Dodge Charger he was building an engine for, and he had a chain fall, a pretty big chain fall to take that motor out. And he had the chain fall resting on a table, much like this table here, but much sturdier to hold that chain fall. Probably a good 200 pounds of chain and the big winch part of the chain. And a little kid, I'm in the basement, I pull on the chain, and the whole unit falls right off the table onto my left foot. The effect of that was it tore my foot in two. The inside of my foot, where the big toe is, got torn right off. It's one of my first memories, is my father holding me above the sink, rinsing that off. The pain of it, and the feeling of looking down and seeing my toe a good 8 inches hanging by veins and nerves in my toe and the whole right side of my foot. So long story short, they sewed it up, a couple of 100 stitches, some elaborate surgery to put my foot back together. The doctor said I'd never run again, and I'd probably never walk without a limp, which turned out to be true. I mean, other than, my foot's pretty scarred up now, but it works fine. The trouble is, after a long time on my feet, that left foot can start to cause some problems, and that's why I have to use a really loose-fitting, form-fitting, lightweight shoe to be able to work 10 hours a day, 6 days, 5-6 days a week. So that's what I use right there. They came in this nice snap-on box, which looks like a little toolbox. I think it's pretty cool. So I think they're like a little under $200 a pair. They last me about 9-10 months. It is what it is, and it's what I have to do to get me through my workday. And if they work for my damaged feet, pretty sure those are going to work for you guys' feet. I'll find out who made those, and because I'm sure it's another company that Snap-on just buys their shoes, puts their name on, and I'll leave a little link in the description on the brand of those and maybe a little more information. Number 5, how did I become a mechanic? Well, I kind of just told you, I was born with a wrench in my hand. As soon as I could walk and grasp things, my father gave me tools. Some of my first toys was an adjustable wrench and a pair of vice grips. I remember just seeing my father using tools and wanting tools. You do what your father wanted to do, and he was a career mechanic his whole life. He actually passed away not too long ago from cancer, which we believe was caused from the benzene exposure in the automotive industry in the early days, the late 70s, early 80s. It wasn't really known that a lot of that stuff was as dangerous as it is. So I kind of try to take that in stride. I try to limit my exposure to chemicals, but that's how I became a mechanic. I did what my father did. He couldn't afford to put us, my parents couldn't afford to put any of us through college. We had a couple of house fires growing up, which kind of doomed any higher education chances that my family might have had back then. But my father knew that, and he did what he can to teach me a career, which I am thankful, because it's one of the few careers that you can get into without getting a bachelor degree, without spending thousands on education. If you know how to turn wrenches and you know how to do the work, you can learn on the job. So that's basically how it kind of was destined for me to be a mechanic before I even existed, I guess you could say. So it's a tough job, but if you have the abilities to do it, and you can keep a car apart and take stuff apart and juggle the hardware, and you have that ability, you can learn on the job. And it's a great career if your family doesn't have the finances or the ability to put you through college, or maybe you don't want to go to college, maybe you don't want to do all the higher learning, you want to jump right in and start making money. If you're decent and you can learn it, it's a good place to start. It's a good career to have. So anyways, just a short little list. My throat's kind of bothering me a little bit, so I didn't really want to get into too much detail, but I still wanted to answer these questions you guys have asked. So anyways, like I said in the beginning, if you guys have any automotive questions, leave them down in the comments. I read every comment, and we'll get them answered as quick as possible for next week. So anyways, guys, until next time, keep it out of the cabbage.